Hey everyone, so in this video I want to talk about Mauga after the Season 9 patch and the mid-season patch, kind of as a whole, his design and essentially everything that's still wrong with him. Like I don't understand, guys. When I first started Season 9, I was in the camp that Mauga was on the weaker side, on the very weak side, because they had done a lot of nerfs to the healing, and I was still kind of riding, well, I guess had the same mentality of the state he was in after they, shot him back down to Earth, from space into the deep corners, to the deepest hole in the Earth where he belongs, because he had essentially ruined the game for a month and a half. So as people got used to, I guess, the Season 9 patch, and with the nerf to the DPS passive that just happened in the mid-season patch, along with his buff to his cardiac arrest ability, this dilapidated marsupial is rearing its ugly head again. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Doomfist main. I assure you, like that's not what's happening here. I play Zarya pretty successfully against him. All right, that's my go-to. But I do mean that objectively, this character is horribly designed. And I want to make something clear, guys. There is nothing about this character that makes him a tank. All he is a character with high stats. And I'm sorry, but that's true. That's all he is. Just a character who just has inflated numbers that kind of help him not die and help him kill his enemies. You just press a button and then it just does a ton of damage or a ton of healing. And in all my videos that I've made and analyzing tanks and I guess every kind of role in the game, I was able to kind of break down tanks into I guess heroes with a specific set of abilities, right? So a tank generally has a CC ability. They're the only ones who are supposed to have CC abilities, mainly. Some other roles kind of have it too, but generally tanks are the ones with the main CC abilities, some form of damage prevention, and sustainability abilities. Now, many tanks only have 2 of the 3, right? And then that's kind of made up in their damage. Usually it's in their damage. In some cases, it's in something else. For example, Zarya has no what does she have? Zarya doesn't have any CC abilities, right? Besides her ultimate, but we're talking kind of standard play. So yeah, Zarya has no CC abilities, but she does have damage prevention with her bubble and sustainment with her regenerating shield. So they make up for that by her doing a ton of damage. Reinhardt's kind of the same way. He has a CC ability. He does have damage prevention with his shield, and his CC ability is his charge, but he has no sustainment at all, right? So he also does a ton of damage when he's able to get into the fight. Now Reinhardt has other problems, but stay tuned for that. That's gonna be another video. But I realized that tanks with no damage prevention who make up for it through high damage are horrible for the game, because they also need a form of sustainability, so their sustain also gets bumped up. And those heroes are Mauga, Roadhog, and Junker Queen. And Junker Queen, maybe not really. I don't really think she makes up for her lack of damage prevention through damage, because she does kind of moderate amount of damage for a tank. But I feel like she makes up for it more in her in her sustain. I think they just kind of gig above her sustain, right? Because she's constantly healing, correct? But also she's not even that amazing of a character, so it kind of shows you the problem with these type of tanks. And maybe it's not even the problem with the type of tanks. She's actually, of these type of tanks, she's the only one that actually requires some form of skill. So maybe that's what's kind of keeping her down. But anyways, Mauga is a tank that just kills other tanks, and that's not a good thing. There shouldn't be a hero inside of a role who is designed to defeat everybody in his role. That's just ridiculous. That's just such poor design. It's just dumb. You can have like a DPS that busts tanks like Reaper, or a tank that busts supports like Winston, or supports that bust DPS like Brig when they're like flanking. Like that makes sense. Like games have like a reverse general feeding cycle, characters who kind of, go backwards in line of like what's supposed to defeat who. And that's a normal kind of gameplay thing, but almost never something that's just designed to defeat its own role, especially in a game where the most powerful thing on your team, you're only allowed to have one of, right? And, 6v6, 5v5, yeah. But for the way the game is designed, it doesn't make any sense, like whatsoever, at all. Mauga is actually a great example of a hero that was only meant to exist in a 6v6 format, like Roadhog. And that is when he was created, right? Well, for those of you who don't know, originally Mauga was supposed to be Sigma, but they believed that Sigma's moveset, or the previous Maga moveset, was too intellectual for the character's I guess lore or story, so they made up Sigma and just gave him the moves, and then they had to rework Mauga. Now Mauga seems to be a character that was just made off of one of the bosses in the PvE games, just kind of running around with two guns, just kind of shooting everything. And it seems like, I'm not gonna say rushed, but more kind of a last minute, not fully thought out thing. That I'm not going to say not fully thought out, because game design is difficult, right? But it seems like it wasn't. It was something that was kind of more just kind of scratched together than had gone through the processes of designs of other characters. But who do I know? I'm just kind of complaining. But yeah, anyways, in the 5v5 format, he barely does anything for his team, and that's kind of what the off-tank role kind of did in the in 6v6, right? Well, specifically characters like Roadhog, because Diva did do a lot, Zarya did do a lot. They're both off-tanks, but he has so many weaknesses, especially in his survivability, which is why they have to buff him up so much, because he has to kill something before they kill him, and that's essentially his main way of preventing damage, right? Just kill what's trying to kill you first, which is the same thing with Roadhog. While in the 6v6 format, you could have like a main tank, like a Reinhardt, who's going to put up his shield to protect you, and then you could fight from behind his shield. Or I want to say Orisa, but Orisa has changed so much she doesn't have a shield anymore. But let's say, or a Winston that could put up the bubble, so that you have something to play around, so you're just not kind of standing in the middle of a fight soaking up a bunch of damage. But in the 5v5 format, he has to do everything. So they just buffed up his numbers artificially for no reason. He has no utility. There is no real cycling of the cooldowns. He just kind of has to be able to do everything at the same time because he has no damage prevention. In the 5v5 format, he's not allowed to specialize in anything. So they make everything good so that he doesn't die. And with this last mid-season patch, right, he got a double buff to his healing, right? They nerfed the DPS passive, and then they kind of buffed his self-heal, his cardiac arrest. Granted, it doesn't last as long anymore, which is a good thing, but they reduced the amount of time it takes for it to come on. While a problem with that is, I think that's the best way to kind of be fixing these abilities, right? Where I think that some of these abilities, and I say this in a lot of my videos, they're very powerful, so they suck to play against, but you can't use it that often, so it kind of sucks to use, as opposed to making it weaker, but making it so the person playing could actually kind of use it more. So it doesn't suck as bad for the person playing against it, and the person who's playing as it, has a bunch more buttons to press. It's just funner. You feel like you're doing something. But so he got these two buffs, and it's just already inching back towards the big problem we all had with him. So yeah, I guess to sum up the problems with this character is that he has no downtime, and I'll get into that, and he's freaking brain dead. He's a brain dead character. Mauga has the opposite problem of what Reinhardt has, right? He's like the polar opposite of Reinhardt. And I think that's the reason why he's broken, and the reason why Reinhardt is suffering so much right now. As in, the problem with Reinhardt is that I think he's the only tank that can either only defend or only attack. He's the only hero, he's the only tank that has to choose between the two, right? Let's say Orisa, who can fortify and shoot at the same time. Sigma can, put up his shield and shoot balls from behind it. Zarya could bubble herself and, keep shooting. Every tank can, while they're preventing damage, while they have damage prevention, they can do something else, right? For Doomfist, it's the fact that his moves, his evasiveness, right? When he punches or he slams, you can't really hit him anymore. And then, he does damage to you, he gets out the way, and then he generates shield. Like, all of that kind of happens all at the same time. But here's the thing. With all the characters I just said, each of those abilities, every single one of those abilities, are on a cooldown. Mauga is ridiculous because he can defend, heal, and attack all at the same time with almost zero cooldowns. That's a problem. That's the big problem with him. There is no downtime. He essentially alternates in between being able to do a ton of damage while healing himself to being able to do a ton of damage while double healing himself, on top of healing his teammates. So his base, his absolute neutral state, he's doing a ton of damage and he's healing himself with just holding down 2 buttons. That's the next part. It's just, I guess that's the brain dead part of it, right? It's not even hard. It's not even a hard thing to do, guys. Because check this out, right? The way his cardiac arrest works is it generates overhealth. Well, no, I think his, what do you call that? When he gets the critical hits on you when you're on fire, I forgot what it's called, it generates overhealth, right? But when he does use his cardiac arrest, it heals him, right? But you can't take down his healing, his actual HP until his overhealth is gone. So imagine, so he's like constantly healing and you can't really do much about it. Well, you can if you kind of overwhelm him with damage because he does die. And you could still take him out, but it's just ridiculous. The amount of effort you have to put in to take him out compared to what he has to do to you is stupid. It's stupid low. And imagine if it was like a Zarya, right? Who is essentially at a constant 50% charge, right? But as she's damaging you, it heals her, right? But then on top of that, she can still do her bubble. That's crazy. That's craziness. His overhealth is essentially like a mini bubble he can kind of continuously just put on top of himself. He just generates big numbers for no reason. That's how he's designed. Just big numbers. No utility, no thinking. Doesn't care about his team. It's just, you just, when my cooldown is ready, let me just press the buttons and go brrr. Like normally, even generating overhealth requires you to, do something, right? On a cooldown to kind of manage when it could kind of be turned on and off. Like, again, Doomfist punches, or essentially all of Doomfist attacks, or, Sigma's Graviton Flux, or Rissa's, her Fortify. Mauga is just shooting. He's just shooting. Like, that's just his base, setting. If something is that easy to do, it shouldn't be that effective. But because Mauga's skill floor is 2 inches away from his skill ceiling, you don't have to be that good to just kind of shoot up the ranks. And I guess what floors me the most is how quickly we're going back into that territory after he essentially ruined the game for a month and a half. We're going right back there. It's, gosh, I see him so much now, and it's annoying. It's annoying. But he's still manageable now, but I could see where it's going, man. I could see where it's going. Anyways, that's it for this video. Tell me where you think I'm wrong or where I'm just a hater in the comments. Or, just leave a comment just for the algorithm to help me out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And also don't forget, I love you. Also, again, I wrote a high fantasy adventure book. So, here's the ad I made for it. And if you guys are interested, I'll leave a link for it in the comments and in the description. So yeah, have a good one, guys. Konfaga, Roots of a Very Old Tree, a high fantasy young adult book with a modern take on African mythology. After a mysterious confrontation with his father at school, Marcus Jobda finds himself in the land of Kara,
With a small band of determined adventurers and a robust magic system he must quickly learn, Marcus begins his search for his family, a way home, and simultaneously tries to discover the mystery of the disappearances. From escaping Mamiwara and preventing wars between kingdoms, he'll need every edge his wits can give him to see the next day. However, the more he learns, the less things appear as they seem. But does he really want to go back to his old life? With hundreds of illustrations filled with clues of the history of the world, join Marcus as he attempts to solve this mystery.
Konfaga, Roots of a Very Old Tree is available now on Amazon. Link in the description.